17-year-old year rolled around, went to Hamilton. In my exhibition series, we were playing Mississauga and came off the ice. Coach walked in the room and said, Troy, there's a coach here that wants to talk to you. And I said, okay. And it was a guy named Dave Peters from Dartmouth. And he said, he walked up to me in like a Boston accent and said like, hey Troy, how you doing? Like, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, do you want to come to Dartmouth next year? He's like, do you know what we're all about? And I said, like, just like that? And he's like, yeah, no, I love the way you play. It's like, I usually need to watch kid 4 or 5 times to get a feel whether they can cut it.
Right.
I just need to watch you now. Do you want to come play for us next year? And I said, yeah, can I talk to my parents first?
That's right, exactly.
My name's Troy Crema, ex-professional hockey player, 4 years at Dartmouth College. You're watching Undress the Jersey.
My man, all right, we're live. You and I we randomly connected on LinkedIn. Like, let's kind of dive into that and how this came about.
Yeah, buddy. I mean, LinkedIn, I just started posting content on there about 3 months ago. After I was done playing hockey, worked on creating a LinkedIn influencer network actually for my first gig out in New York. And then just kind of got in touch with a bunch of content creators on the site. And they said, you know what, it's great from a networking perspective. And from there on, I've just been posting video, photo content on there. Just kind of grow my follower base. I think I'm up to 7,000 followers now or something like that.
Nice one, man. And what kind of stuff do you make?
Literally just video content, just doing high level kind of business acumen type of stuff, reflecting on also just the day-to-day of an entrepreneur, growing startups, lessons that you face. I just did a video on thinking versus doing. So the mindset of that. Okay. And so how a lot of people say they're going to do a lot of things
sure.
and think about it, but never actually fulfill it or never actually go through with it.
It's fun. It's fun to talk about.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's very fun to talk about, but no one actually physically gets up and creates an action and actually goes and does it. And so I was just talking about the difference between the two and how actually you can think about maybe planning as a mechanism in the realm of doing, and how if you set planning and setting timelines for yourself to actually physically go do something.
Right.
And so by planning, you're actually doing instead of just thinking about it and doing it hyperbole.
This is actually something I've been thinking about a lot because a little bit about Undress the Jersey.
Yeah.
I started it back in 2017. So I was in my second year university.
Yep.
And I've always been super project oriented, people oriented. I want to do stuff. Obviously I've been big into social media since it was a thing.
100%.
Just staying connected with friends and as everyone knows with social media, you especially Instagram for our age, you would put up a picture and then you would count the likes. And then if it didn't get enough likes, you'd be like, oh, damn, I got to take that away. And then you're looking at your friends and being like, yo, I got 100 likes. So I've always been interested in social media. So as I played basketball for St. FX out east. And I remember my second year, this was the time when Gary Vee was blowing up. And this is when, do, you're an entrepreneur and create something and just do stuff. I was like, damn, I want to do something. and so I just came up with this idea of a place where athletes can share their story, because I reflected internally and said, yo, I got a crazy story that we'll get into. I can't be the only one. No. And just kind of on the level, on the surface level, I wore the number 5 because it represented something bigger than the sport itself. So I was like, damn, I bet other people wear certain numbers. Why do people wear the numbers they do? So I started just whatever. Here we are. But getting what you just touched on with the whole, planning and blocking out time. I've been thinking about this so much recently because here I am in Toronto with no job. I'm trying to treat Undress the Jersey as a full-time job in content creation and reaching out and doing this kind of stuff, even though it ain't paying the bills right now. Mm-hmm. For me, the whole idea of blocking out time, think about all the times in your life where you've had a schedule, whether this is being an athlete or even simply just going to school.
Yeah, that's crazy. Student athlete, you literally you wake up, you're lifting, you're going out, and
it's all regimented. You have to be here at a certain time. Yeah. And even beyond that, think about when you were in junior high, like you had blocks of classes and recess and this and that. Like I'm, it's weird because since I've been out of that ecosystem, I haven't had a real schedule. But it just makes sense. That's how humans operate, is like scheduling time. So I'm starting to try to create and utilize like a calendar.
100%. That was one of my biggest things coming out of, I guess, when I finished playing pro was, okay, I had to be at the rink at 8 a.m. I had to stretch, I had to lift, I had to do my warm up, and then went on the ice from 9 to 12. And then we have a pregame skate, and I'd go back, I'd have lunch, pregame nap, okay, get to the rink at 5, pregame, 7 o'clock showtime, right? And when you're in school, especially as a student, you actually never get out of that schedule. So like, especially as a hockey player, when you're in season, like you have your lifts in the morning, you're going to class, you're getting out of class, you're taking like a 36-minute nap because that's how long it takes to walk from your room to the arena, and then eventually you get changed at the time. You have it down to like a science.
Right.
And I found that after I got out of playing and all that, it took me probably, I'm not going to even lie, like a year or two to start to figure out, okay, what's my routine? Okay, what's my schedule? Okay, what am I accomplishing on a day-to-day basis? And that's a huge transition point. And some people are a lot better at doing it than I am, I guess. But once I started to get the hang of that, everything kind of started to click in the real world, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So like let's dive into that. Like, what, now that you're no longer a student or a hockey player, like take us through your day to day. Like, what's it look like?
So I work right now for, so I originally am a consultant. It's technically an entrepreneur in residence. So I work now for a company called, and co-founded it, Greencube Analytics. And basically we're a big data MarTech company. And we basically take everything a marketing agency we do, from the content creation, deploying on social media, but adding a big data set to it and running some AI analytics and everything like that. And so my day-to-day now is I wake up at first of all, I barely sleep because I'm just so into this
Go.
passion. And so I get up, I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm going on a run for 45 minutes, come back, showering, jumping on the subway, here at the office by 8, and then 8 till, I never really set a time when I need to leave. It's just a matter of when my day gets, when I feel comfortable that I've accomplished everything I need to set out in my day, then I'll leave the office. And so I mentally, I never actually stop working, but when you're doing something that you're passionate about, and you can attest to this, Justin, too, with what you're doing right now, you never really feel that you're working. You're never really, yes, your body gets tired. Yes, you get mentally fatigued, and you need your sleep, obviously, but you're waking up every day with just kind of a genuine purpose to your day, and it just makes it go by that much quicker.
It's so true, because think of all of your friends or other people that you may know that just work a job that they don't enjoy, and they're literally looking at the clock. It's completely black and white to what you just said, is you don't have a time when you need to leave the office. Meanwhile, other people are God damn, two more hours and I'm free.
100%. And
how do you tell someone how to change that mindset, or find something where you don't feel like you're working?
Honestly, it's just discovery. It's literally you have to get outside of your box for your day to day. You just need to go explore, go out, look at things, go online, read. Reading's great. I felt like I didn't read at all. When I was coming out of university, I would just read basically look at sports highlights. I'm genuinely now I picked up the Twitter feed. I'm looking at random stuff and reading stuff in different industries. And eventually,
how great is Twitter?
I don't get why people don't like Twitter more. Honestly, my grade 11 teacher put it the best way. And this guy was 65 years old, but he had Twitter, and he said, Twitter's like your personal newspaper. And I was like, whoa, mind blown. I'm that is unbelievable. You're so right. It literally is your personal newspaper. And honestly, I find myself on Twitter way more than any other platform, just because
I totally agree.
I love reading just new stories, updates, but also what people are saying. I find when you're in your line of work, especially when you're putting out content, it's great to get the likes, it's great to get the retweets or whatever on Instagram and all these different platforms, but it's also really good to get feedback, and also really good to hear what people are saying. And so that's why I like looking at Twitter, and I like looking at what people are saying about major subjects, because it gives you more context on what you need to do in your day to day, whether that's
For
your
sure.
that's the way you go about it. I mean, it's a great information source.
Two things. Like, one, I love using Twitter for in the moment live updates. So tonight, while I'm watching a Laker Heat game, I'm going to be on Twitter seeing what people are saying.
Oh yeah, when LeBron goes and dunks on Jimmy Butler per se, I'm typing in LeBron and I'm looking at what everyone said about it.
It's the search tool within Twitter is incredible. Even like, just thinking of my day to day when I'm creating content, say I'm using the site like Canva or something, canva.com. If Canva's not working, I'm going on Twitter and typing in Canva and seeing if other people are having the same problem. And then
Service,
like,
right?
that's incredible. But for us to sit here and say Twitter's the greatest, Twitter is also one of the most toxic places you can ever find yourself on the internet. Like, do you have any crazy stories like experiencing toxicity from Twitter?
From Twitter, oh.
Maybe not personally, but like, would you agree with me when I say that?
Athletes in general, every day. I mean, look at Antonio Brown last year. That'd be one of the examples. He posts a video where he tweets something saying, sporadically, or athletes do this all the time, saying, I deserve a contract, or I deserve a raise, or I'm better than this guy, or you're nothing, you're not this. Once that's out there, it's been screenshotted, it's been captured, you're monitored, it's in the universe. And so eventually that tweet will get deleted two minutes later, but it's getting aired on SportsCenter at 9 o'clock.
That's right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, there's pros and cons with everything. I think, but it is such a great tool for communication and, like you said, specifically feedback. Troy, I wanna kind of switch gears. Give me a little background on how you found yourself at Dartmouth. Are you like, where, like, even far as back, like, where are you originally from? Are you from Toronto?
So I'm from Toronto, born and bred. Grew up, started on the ice when I was 4. Dad had me out there pretty early, pretty serious hockey dad. And then basically just, fell in love with the game all the way through. Really enjoyed it. When I was playing minor hockey, I played with like Bo Horvat, Darnell Nurse, a couple NHLers that you might know. We had like a superpower AAA team in Toronto, won a couple Ontario championships, you name it, we did it. And then when I was playing junior, actually in my final year when I was 15, minor midget, I actually had a spleen problem. So actually they thought I had mono at the time, but it was just some sort of, I didn't have any symptoms. So I was perfectly fine, and I was pissed because I'm like, shit, well, I can play. Like, I'm physically okay to play, but they said, well, if you get hit, you're going to rupture your spleen, you could die. So I basically didn't play half of my minor midget season. It was a pretty big, I guess, name going from minor hockey going up there. So I fell off the boards a bit, drafted like 297th overall. I still remember the number in the OHL draft, and then had a junior A team lined up to play when I was 16, actually, and then actually went to the camp, had a signed card and everything. Last minute, literally 3 days or 4 days, a week or two before the season, ownership group comes in and says, "Oh, sorry, we just bought the team. I have a kid on the team. He's taking that spot." Because you're only allowed 2 16-year-old cards at the time, and so I was out. So here I am saying, well, fuck, I'm not playing midget hockey. I don't want to play midget hockey. Like, I can play junior A. And so I actually had to walk on. So I went to Brampton, the Brampton Capitals, who don't exist anymore. They had, there's a spot open for a 16-year-old. Come try out. And I said, okay, I'll come up for the skate. Show up to the skate, Tristan. There was literally 125 players. There were 4 teams of 21 players on each side. And they said, okay, we're just going to do 2 1-hour, 2-hour sessions. We're a scrimmage. It's see what happens. I had maybe like 4 or 5 shifts on the ice, scored a couple goals in the scrimmages. And then they said, okay, great. Put a list up on the next day. Then they were down to 80. And then eventually the next week we were down to 50. And then eventually the next week we were down to 35. And I'm still here, 15, 10. And then it got down to the point where it was me and 4 other kids, and exhibition game came about. And I had a couple goals, and I didn't realize this. The spot was actually already taken by someone on the team, but they ended up cutting that kid to actually make a spot for me. And so I played my 16-year-old year there. Didn't play a lot to start, and then new coach came in, started playing a lot, started producing, obviously, and then actually had a soft commitment to go to Yale at my 16-year-old year. And then I went to a prep school tournament down in Boston, and I was like 2 months out of my season. And honestly, I just played like shit. And they said, okay, like, we're going to hold off, but we'll wait, and let's say you do next year. 17-year-old year rolled around, went to Hamilton with the Heismans, actually. Zach Hyman, who plays for the Toronto Maple Leafs, his family owned the team at the time. They gave me a shot. First played top line minutes there. And then in my exhibition series, we were playing Mississauga. And I knew that I had like Michigan, Harvard, Yale, Michigan State. Those schools were at the game watching me play. And then I think I had a couple assists, like made a nice like one-handed pass move or something like that. And I came off the ice. It was just an exhibition game, and coach walked in the room and said, "Troy, like, there's a coach here that wants to talk to you." And I said, "Okay." Like, it's probably like Michigan or Harvard or one of those schools. And it was a guy named Dave Peters from Dartmouth. They said he walked up to me in like a Boston accent and said like, "Hey Troy, how you doing?" Like blah blah blah. And then he's like, "Do you wanna?" He's like, "Do you wanna come to Dartmouth next year?" He said, "Do you know what we're all about?" And I said, just like that. And he's like, "Yeah, no, I love the way you play." It's like, usually need to watch kid 4 or 5 times to get a feel whether they can cut it.
Right.
Like, I just need to watch you now. Do you want to come play for us next year? And I said, yeah, like, can I talk to my parents first? Like,
That's right. Exactly. But
yeah.
like that always fascinates me is how, with recruiters in sports,
Yeah.
how oftentimes it comes down to one game. Like you could be one of the best players in your age group, but it comes down to a specific, if you have one bad game or one bad performance while a coach or a recruiter is watching you, that could be the end all be all.
And honestly, Tristan, there were probably schools watching me that I didn't even know about, and I probably played like shit that one game. And
that's right.
And that wasn't my path. But for some reason, I had Dartmouth, Dave Peters at that game in that moment, and that was my destiny to go to Dartmouth and play 4 years.
See, but you just said it right there. Like a lot of kids would be like, "Oh, screw that coach," or whatever. They don't like. I had a bad game. Like I'm better than this recruit that they got. Like for you just to have to show that mindset is like what happened was supposed to happen. I truly believe in all of that.
I'm not gonna lie, Tristan. Like I think when you're 17 years old, like I mean, listen, like I was a pretty good player. Like I was like maybe five to 10 guys 17 years old, like that were supposed to go to a Division I school playing in the junior hockey league. So I had an ego. Like I'm not gonna lie, I was a common prick when I was like 17. And it just came down to the fact that I had like a fuck you mentality. It was like forget everyone else. Like I'm the best. Like, and that's how, honestly, I think as an athlete, when you're like that age, like yes, it's like looking back at it, you probably didn't want to have that mindset. But when you're on the ice or when you're on the field or on the court, you need to have a mindset of I'm the best player on the ice and no one else is going to dictate that. I'm going to dictate my own path.
And obviously in team sports like hockey and basketball and football, you need to have a certain level of balance to ego and being aware of like playing within the team system. But I completely agree. Like you need to have the confidence because that's going to elevate your game as a player.
Exactly.
No doubt. So I just find it super cool that so now you're in Dartmouth. I actually went to school, high school, 50 minutes away from Dartmouth in St. Johnsbury, Vermont.
No way. There you go.
Boarding school. I was there in 2011, 2015. Moved down there for specifically basketball, but the school I was at wasn't necessarily a prep school. Like, especially in like New England, there's a ton of basketball schools that are exactly that, right? Like they're literally basketball schools, like Brewster Academy and Northfield Mount Herman, which I know is a big hockey school too, and there's Vermont Academy, which is a big basketball. But I was at an academic first boarding school, and even though we were private public school, we played in the public school league of Vermont. But like being down there allowed me to stay during the summer and play AAU and travel the US, and I got to go to LA and Connecticut and New York and like all these, like I played against like Lonzo Ball and his 2 younger brothers, and LeVar was coaching them, and we got pumped by 60, but it doesn't matter. I could say that, and we even got to go see a Dartmouth Harvard game. It's just like, speak on the opportunity that sometimes going away for school, specifically in the States, can have on your, career as an athlete, like just opportunities.
I think like just the USA, especially from a college perspective or even a prep school perspective, it's just bigger. It means more to the community. And I hate like in Canada, it's almost as if kids are so hung up about or proud about the program they're in, but they're not as proud about the school that they go to. So people might say that, listen, I'm in Queens Commerce, but they won't say, no, I go to Queens. With our school, and that's down in the States, it doesn't matter what program you're in. It's, I go to Dartmouth, I go to Michigan, I go to Ohio State. It's really school, like a lot of school pride around the West schools. And so when I went there, it was the exact same. Like we had a campus of only 3,500 undergrad, 1,500 graduate students, but we had a surrounding area of local fans and people that love our school and love their sports. And so we would go and we'd play games at our 5,000 seat stadium, which on paper we probably shouldn't sell out, but we did because the surrounding community that loved it. And so it's just going away for school, like in the US, it's like I'll recommend it to anyone. So I think it's a great growing up experience. And I think you just learn so much going away from and not being around your parents. Like you're going to wake up every day, you're going to fail again, you're going to fail. And eventually, like by the time you hit your fourth year, you're going to get it. And it took me probably, I mean, I was injured my first 2 years, so that was like mentally, that was tough as well. But it took me to like maybe like halfway through my third year to like finally get it and like finally think, hey, this is how I go about my day. This is how I go to class. This is when I study. This is how I study. This is how when I go to practice, I need to prepare. And this is how I practice when I'm on the ice. It takes a learning experience, and some people are gifted and they pick it up quicker, but you learn that as you go through experience. And it's no different than when you get out into the real world. Like, I'm not going to say I was like the perfect guy coming out of school. Like I didn't have like a lot of shit figured out, but now, and I still don't have a lot of shit figured out, but now I'm finally learning the process of the day to day, learning what it takes to be successful, to move things forward. And it's just, like I said, you grow up every day. That's it.
Yeah. And you're relying on the experience that you had and everything you picked up there. And it's clear that now that's implemented into your life now. What was like the travel schedule and stuff in the Ivy League? Like what was that like going to game day, preparation, staying overnight in hotels, eating food on the road? Like what was that like being in the Ivy League?
So it was, I mean, listen, like you look when you're in like the college program, you're at the school, you're like, oh, this is like, we're getting like takeout meals on the bus, like this isn't great. But then when you get out of that and you actually go to pro hockey, it like honestly, we got taken care of so well when we were in college that I missed it so much when I went to pro. Our longest road trips would be like, we had our road trips weren't bad. They were like 2 to 3 hours per se. But we had a couple ones where like we go out to like Clarkson University, we go to St. Lawrence, we go to Cornell, Colgate, to like very tough place to play. And it would be 6.5, 7 hour road trips. And then you'd have to drive Colgate to Cornell. You're driving 2 hours after your game on a Friday. So you're getting in at like 1:30 to Cornell, and basically you're gassed, you're tired, you're waking up, you're canceling pregame skate, and then you're getting back after it and playing a team that's been staying at their home base rested, and you know that's gonna be a physical fucking tilt, and you just have to do it. But it's funny, like you're tired, you're hurt, you're wounded per se, but when you come onto the ice for that game, like nothing else really matters.
Go time.
It's so funny. It's like adrenaline kicks in, and it's like, yeah, someone would be like, shit, like you're playing with a high ankle sprain, like you shouldn't be playing. But it's like when I step on that ice, like I'm not even thinking about that. I'm just doing it. That's it.
And you guys, you hockey guys are tough anyway, right?
So like sometimes, I mean, we like to think so.
You gotta be. Troy, where did you play pro?
So I played for the Rochester Americans when I came out of school. Kind of a funny story. So actually, I went to Dartmouth, played my senior year, I did great. It was like a Holy Baker nominee, all that, first team All-Ivy. And then graduated from there, finished, we got knocked out by Yale in a road series in the playoffs. I actually thought I was going to get called up to an AHL team right away. And eventually I never got the call. And so I talked to my agent and said, just wait it out. Like, we'll sign in the summer. Don't worry about it. Go enjoy. And so I actually went on vacation, went to the Cayman Islands, like enjoyed senior spring, like blah, blah, blah. And then eventually I stepped out of one of my classes in April, like after being out of the game for about like a month and a half. And it was for the Buffalo Sabres who called me, and they said, like, we want you to play. It was a Thursday. They said, we want you to play in Rochester tomorrow night. And I said, yeah, 100%, I'll do that. For sure.
You can't say no.
Like, what are you gonna say? Yeah, I've been out of season for like a month and a half. Like, I'm not gonna play. Like, you got to go. So
that's right.
It was like logistical craziness. So like my hockey bag was actually up in Toronto at the time, wasn't even down in Dartmouth. So they got a chartered car. They took me from Hanover, New Hampshire to Boston. I took a red-eye flight at like 12:30 at night from Boston, Toronto. Went to my place in Toronto, slept for like 5 hours, grabbed my bag in Toronto, drove through the border across Rochester, 5 hours during the day. Got in at like 3:30, took a pregame meal, met with the coach at 4 p.m. the next day on the Friday. He called me in with like another one of the guys he got signed and said, you guys are like, it was really cool. He called us in and he said, listen, boys, it's a great opportunity for you. Like you're playing in the league that is one below the best league in the world. And I'll never forget that line. After that, I was like, I'm not tired anymore. That's all I needed to hear.
That's what's up.
And so, played Utica Comets that night, won. And then actually we went on the road that night, drove through the night there, and we actually played the Toronto Marlies. So I got to come home actually and play the Saturday in front of a bunch of friends and family. And that was awesome. I mean, that was an experience that I'll never forget.
Man, that's that story right there. That just reminds me of why I do this, because like it's not every day where you or me would just randomly go on Twitter and share a story. Like you need a little bit of someone to draw that out for you. That reminds me of a story I have in high school. So this was probably like April, May-ish, maybe even June, because high school went into June. I played for an AAU team in Ottawa.
Yeah.
It was called Ottawa Phoenix.
Yeah.
And we would always go to tournaments in upper state New York and all that stuff. So me being in Vermont, it's right next door to New York. And so Ottawa was driving. We had a tournament in, where were we going? Probably I think it was Lake Placid actually.
Yep.
Shadow. What's the movie with the Olympic team?
Miracle on Ice. Yeah, we played that.
Yeah. Hey, Miracle on Ice. Okay, so yeah, I was all around there. It was cool. Anyway, so I'm in Vermont. These guys are in Ottawa. They're taking off. They're driving to Lake Placid, and they're like, how are we going to get Tristan to Lake Placid? Because what am I going to do? Hop on a Greyhound? I could. I'm not going to fly to Ottawa. So long story short, they sent a coach down from Ottawa a day before, picked me up in Vermont, and then we're going to drive. He didn't end up coming to Vermont to get me until, let's say, 4:00. Now, I don't know how long the drive is, but it's a long drive from where I was. We had to go to Burlington, Vermont, and then we had to there's like a ferry that goes from Vermont over to New York. Well, we missed the damn ferry.
Of course it is.
So now this is the evening. So we're like, okay, we have no choice. We can't stay the night. We played the next day.
Unreal.
We ended up driving around the lake or whatever it is through the night. Now we're in a Jeep. We're in an old Jeep, no windows, no doors, no nothing.
Yeah.
It's nighttime. It's just me and this coach who I barely know. I'm sorry to my dad listening to this. He probably never knew, but we drove throughout the night in butt fuck nowhere.
Really?
We ended up driving through these single lane highways with no lights, and I swear to God, it's probably, I don't know what time, 11 at night, 12 at night.
Dude, New York has no lit roads. Do you realize that at night?
Zero.
When the sun goes down, you are in pitch darkness.
It was nuts. And so we're driving, and all of a sudden we have to come to a stop because there's cars on the road in the middle of nowhere, and then there's just these people in the ditch, and all you can see are their eyes light up because of the Jeep, and we're just like, holy shit, we're gonna die. We what's going on? And we end up going by. They just watched us drive by, but it's just funny. These are the kind of experiences where where you're outside of your comfort zone, you don't know where you are, and it's just something like this, something like your story will always stick with you.
Yeah,
It's incredible. I was looking on your Instagram quickly. David Thompson, what's your relationship with David?
I saw he
yeah,
was on your show the other day. That was freaking
yeah,
awesome. Yeah, no,
yeah.
Davey's a beauty. So Davey trained, and I trained together probably for 3 years. I started when I was like 18. I think he was like 15. I think he was 16 at the time, 97. And yeah, I know Dave and I trained every single morning, 5 days a week. So I know Davey, I go way back. Talented, such a talented guy. And then literally had so much success in junior. Like I think he went down to Texas, Corpus Christi, and was ripping it up down there. And then all of a sudden he went back for his 20-year-old year and then towards ACL. And I was like, I remember I was at school. I remember in September, I just got there and I saw this thing where Dave Thompson tore his ACL. And I remember just literally I almost cried because I was like, that kid you put in so much work, especially I have like the utmost respect for especially hockey players because when he played his 20-year-old year in juniors with no commitment, like nothing, and he trained his ass off from when he was 4 years old all the way to 20, bypass going to school when you're 18, and really like just for the love of game and his belief, risked it all to play. And like for that to happen, I like just felt for the guy, and then all of a sudden like saw that he was back training and getting after it. And then I saw he ended up at U of T, and I was like, that's awesome. Like it's great. And then I saw like this past year, like David Thompson for OUA Player of the Year, and I'm like,
He cleaned up.
It couldn't have happened to a better guy. And I'm like, I'm so proud of David. He's a man.
I randomly, like the way I do my page is I just randomly DM people and say, yo, like, do you want to do a story? Do you want to hop on a call? Whatever. David was one of the first video interviews.
Yep.
I've never heard of the guy before, but immediately just like you and I are doing, like there's certain people you click with and you read the energy and you feel it. And David's one of those guys. I was chatting with him last night just about, hey man, I'm in Toronto, this and that. Hopefully you guys have a season. I'd love to come catch a game if it's open to the public. He says, yeah, like I think they just started on the ice this week.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to soak up as much time as he can. He and I are going to hopefully go for lunch or something just to kind of link up. Would love to do that with you sometime too. So Troy, what, just as we're wrapping up here, like just explain a little bit more about like your career now and what are some of the similarities? I know you've touched on it already, but what are some of the similarities that you draw from hockey and that you implement on your day-to-day today?
Just hard work, man. Like honestly, like when I was growing up, I was this underage player. I was an underage kid, an undersized kid. I was good, but I always had a chip on my shoulder because people thought I was too small. And like I said, I still carry that chip today. I carry it when I go to the office. I carry it when I go to deals or go to meetings. You always have to just put in the work. And I think that's like the big thing. And what I've realized now is I worked my ass off when I was in hockey. And then it took me a year or two to figure out what hard work truly meant in the real world, because it's different. They're totally different things. And now, like, obviously I have great mentors here at Gamma Capital Partners, which is where I work now, who had to kick me in the ass a couple times, no different than a coach would. But now I truly know what actual hard work is in the real world. And now, like, what it takes to be successful, because I gained that success in hockey, obviously not to the extent I wanted to, playing the NHL. Sure. But now in real life, you have to work. It's so true. It's like what Elon Musk says, like, I work 18-hour days. But really, you're not working 18 hours because you're passionate about what you do. It doesn't feel like 18-hour days. But you have to literally put in those hours in order to be successful in what you're doing. And honestly, it's just going by your day-to-day and just doing. That's it, man. You just got to wake up. You got to get after it. And you just got to do it.
How was that transition for you, though, to go from, like, a certain level of success where you worked from 4 years old all the way up till the last game in hockey, and then to kind of almost start at the bottom in business?
It was hard, man. I mean, I came out, finished playing. I didn't know what the fuck I was going to do, to be honest. I had no clue. Had an idea that I wanted to be entrepreneurial. Knew I had a lot of ideas. And then, but never really, I guess, figured out how to like yes, I was a thinker. I was never a doer. And so
Right.
it took me, like I said, that a year, 2 years, now third year at a university or when it's I've done playing hockey to figure out what actually doing means. And now that you're not thinking. And so now I'm finally doing, we're executing, we're moving forward, we're getting deals. It's very exciting.
Mhm.
And just having that mentality of waking up and doing every day just carries you through. And honestly, it's been a godsend.
That's awesome, man. I don't know. I always like to leave it open for you if you had any questions for me, but we're approaching that 40-minute mark, which is what I find is the nice sweet spot, especially when I'm doing the editing.
Yeah, perfect.
I don't know, man.
Buddy, like I love what you're doing. I've looked at like a bunch of your videos, I guess, over the last week since we connected, and like I said, I think you're taking an approach that's different than what anything out there. You're really getting on the personal level with a lot of these players, and also like the fact that you're generating the amount of engagement that you are with just a common athlete, hypothetically, or an everyday person,
Yeah.
not the LeBron
That's
Jameses.
right.
I think you're carving out a niche that's going to be super successful. So just keep doing what you're doing, Tristan, and embrace the grind, buddy, because you're going to have days where you're saying like, what the fuck am I doing? Or why am I doing it? But just honestly, dude, keep doing what you're doing, keep at it, and you're going to be successful, man.
No, you're the guy. I really appreciate that. Like I said, I'm in Toronto for the year. I don't know how long you plan to be here, but
I'm here for the foreseeable future, buddy.
Sure.
Let's grab a beer or something sometime.
Absolutely. Yeah, a couple at least. You know?
Grab a few.
All right, brother. No, Troy, I really appreciate it. Let's stay in contact and yeah, keep working.
I will, kid. You too. Keep running.
Peace.
My name is Troy Crema, ex-professional hockey player, 4 years at Dartmouth College. You just watched Undress the Jersey.
That's it, guys. Really hope you enjoyed this episode. As always, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do so you don't miss out on any new episodes. Like this video and share it with someone who you think would. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any new episodes. Hit the like button as well. That really helps me get my videos out to more people. And share this with someone who you think would enjoy it or might learn something new about them or someone else. Thanks so much. Love you all. Peace.